Stop it. Abigail screamed with all her might as tears streamed down her face. There was nothing she could do but watch helplessly as her house was torn down. Her heart ached so badly, as though it was cut into pieces. At that moment, it finally dawned on her how essential a person's abilities were. Had she been stronger, this would never have happened. The onlookers sighed as they watched from afar. None of them dared to step up and defend the Robinsons, as the perpetrator was from the Charging Tiger gang. One would have to be a fool to cross them. Suddenly, an ear-splitting boom was heard, and the house collapsed instantly. Abigail was heartbroken. She could not accept that the place she had called home for so many years and held so many beautiful memories was now in ruins. "Well, have you changed your mind yet?" A malicious grin spread out on Chad's face. "Destroying the house was just the start. If you continue to refuse, then your father is next." With that, he signaled his bodyguards, and they immediately understood what he meant. Without another word, they grabbed hold of Mr. Robinson and pinned him down on the ground. One of them stepped on his head while the other held a machete in his hand, giving him a contemplative look as if he was thinking about where he should start. "Let go of him." Gripped by fear, Abigail threw a punch at Chad, but he easily deflected it. "Abigail, go. Don't worry about me, run," Mr. Robinson shouted. "My, what a touching scene." Chad chuckled mirthlessly. "Unfortunately for you, I despise sappy scenes. Boys, chop that old geezer's hand off." "Yes, sir." The bodyguard, who had a machete with him, answered before swiftly raising the machete above his head. "No." Abigail shrieked in despair. Just as the machete was brought down, a person appeared out of nowhere and grabbed it by the blade. Surprised by the resistance, the bodyguard looked up and found an impassive yet handsome face staring back at him. The person's face was devoid of any emotion whatsoever. The bodyguard had a gut feeling that the person before him was not an average person but a lurking beast ready to pounce at any moment. The bodyguard felt an unknown terror rise within him. "It's you, sir?" Once the initial shock wore off, a wave of relief washed over Abigail, and she could no longer hold back the tears. Her savior had finally arrived. Tearing down houses against the owner's will and assaulting them in public. "Where did you get the audacity to do such things?" Dustin asked with an icy glint in his eyes. "Hey, punk. Where did you come from? How dare you meddle with my business?" Chad glared at him. He had yet to come across someone who did not tremble at the name of the Charging Tiger gang, but here was this insolent bastard who stood up for others and went against him. Did he have a death wish? "You will pay back 10 times what the house is worth for demolishing it against their will. And whoever struck them, chop your hand yourself. If you do what I say, I'll consider letting you go," Dustin said nonchalantly. "Let us go." Chad cackled and looked at Dustin like he was an idiot. "Hey buddy, do you even know what you're saying? Go, take a look in the mirror, man. You're not a hero, and you damn sure ain't going to be saving the damsel in distress today. Where did this impulsive lad come from? Where did he get the courage to interfere with the Charging Tiger gang? Does he have no fear? I applaud him for his bravery, but he must not be too bright to be doing something like that. The Charging Tiger gang is renowned for being mercilessly brutal. This young man is getting himself into some unnecessary trouble." The onlookers whispered among themselves when they heard what Dustin said. "I'll count to 3. If you do not do as I say, I'll have to take action myself. And if I do, it won't be as simple as chopping your hands off anymore," Dustin warned. "Well, aren't you a cocky one?" Chad's fury was ignited by Dustin's words. "Bobby, Donnie, get him." "Yes, sir." The two bodyguards exchanged looks and simultaneously threw a punch at Dustin's face, one on the left and one on the right. The moment Dustin showed up, they felt a very imposing aura from him, so neither of them held back when they threw their punches. They gave it all they had, intending to take him out with a single move. "You underestimate me." Dustin scoffed and reached out with both hands, accurately grabbed both the bodyguard's wrists, and then twisted them forcefully. With 2 loud cracks, their arms were broken then and there. Their arms were badly deformed, and the broken bones pierced through flesh and skin. It was a gruesome sight for all. Both men let out agonizing screams with tortured expressions on their faces. But before they could even move, Dustin continued with his assault. He threw a punch with both hands, each one aimed at the two men's chests. With two dull thuds, their sternums collapsed, and indentations the size of a fist could be seen on their chests. At the same time, the two burly men were sent flying several feet away and crashed heavily into piles of rubble-like bags of sand. They both coughed out blood and laid unconscious. Although they did not die on the spot, they had little time left to live. Chad was shocked by what he saw. His bodyguards were considered elites in the Charging Tiger Gang, and they could take out at least 100 regular people on their own. No matter what trouble he got himself into, they had been able to handle their opponents with a breeze. It was beyond him how they could be defeated by just a punch. And they were even so badly hurt that they were on the verge of death. Who on earth was this punk? It's your turn now. Dustin turned to glare at Chad. So, are you doing it yourself, or shall I do it for you? You. Stay away. Chad had a bad premonition about the turn of events. I'm warning you, my father is the leader of the Charging Tiger Gang. If you so much as lay a single finger on me, my father will never let you go. The son of the leader of the Charging Tiger Gang. A commotion broke out among the onlookers. They had thought that Chad was just an ordinary member of the Charging Tiger Gang, but now that they learned that he was not just any other member but the son of the leader of the gang, it made him seem even more formidable than he already was. I don't care who you are. You either pay up and chop off your arm, or you'll end up just like them. Dustin said without a hint of emotion. Are you fucking deaf? I said, my father is the leader of. Chad was cut off mid-sentence as Dustin appeared right in front of him and grabbed him by the throat, lifting him off his feet. With his airway blocked, Chad could not breathe and kicked around wildly as he struggled to free himself. Fear bubbled from within him and overwhelmed him as he looked into Dustin's cold, uncaring eyes. At that moment, it finally registered to him that the person before him was an absolute madman who did not give a shit about who he was. If he wasn't careful, this would be the day he bid the world goodbye. Wait, Mr. Rhys. Right then, Mr. Robinson clambered up from the ground and reasoned with Dustin. Mr. Rhys, we cannot afford to anger this person. Please put him down quickly, will you? The repercussions will be severe if you do not. I shall bear every consequence of my actions, Dustin assured. Mr. Rhys, I know that you're powerful, so you're not afraid of the Charging Tiger Gang, but that isn't how things are for us. We're just ordinary civilians. We cannot afford to offend people like them. If you hurt him, we will also be dragged into the mess. Mr. Robinson looked at Dustin with despair. Will you let him go just like that after all these terrible things he has done to you? Dustin frowned. Mr. Rhys, peasants like us have no choice. All we ask for is a life of peace. Though we've indeed lost our house, we can still build another. As long as we're unharmed, then it isn't a big deal. Please, Mr. Rhys, I beg of you, release him. As Mr. Robinson spoke, he suddenly fell to his knees and began begging Dustin to let go of Chad. Why are you getting on your knees, Mr. Robinson? Dustin was surprised by the sudden turn of events and quickly reached out to help him up. Though Mr. Robinson was just a regular civilian, Dustin had always viewed him as an elder who deserved respect. Mr. Rhys, I know that you're trying to defend us, but while you may be able to protect us this time, you won't be here to protect us forever. Mr. Robinson continued, using violence against violence will never solve the problem. Why don't we all take a step back? I don't mind suffering a little unfairness in life as long as we can continue on with our lives. Dustin was rendered speechless when he heard what Mr. Robinson said. When he put himself in Mr. Robinson's shoes, he had to admit that what Mr. Robinson said made a lot of sense. Dustin might be able to help them out this once, but he wouldn't be able to be there to help them out all the time.